come from? How did he get here, this little creature called Paddle to the Sea? He couldn't know that Paddle had already traveled thousands of miles to reach the lighthouse on the headland by the sea. He had traveled past the Gaspé, past Quebec City, further than Montreal, further than Toronto, further than Lake Huron. North of Lake Superior, in the Nipigon country. That's where Paddle was born one winter, in a little cabin deep in the woods. Now, that cabin was not only far away from the sea, it was also far above the level of the sea. And that's why the boy who lived there got a cedar log from the woods and started to carve Paddle to the Sea. His name was Kyle Apatagan. He was a boy with a dream of a journey he couldn't make himself. But Paddle to the Sea might be able to, if he got him finished by springtime. Kyle had learned in school that his home was on the height of land. And that meant from where he lived, all the streams and rivers and lakes flowed down to the sea. Now, if that were true, then Paddle should be able to just float all the way down to the ocean. Maybe. Of course, he didn't tell anybody about his dream. They would laugh at him and say it couldn't happen. He didn't tell anybody why he melted the lead. Of course, it was to keep Paddle upright in the water. And he didn't tell anybody why he carved on the bottom, "Please put me back in the water." But as he worked through the long winter evenings, and as Paddle grew more shapely and splendid and shiny, Kyle thought, I don't want to let him go. I want to keep him. Then one fine day, he made up his mind. I made him to go on a journey when the ice and snow have gone from the rivers. Go he must. then one day at sunset, Paddle calmly sailed out into the biggest lake in the world, Lake Superior. But Paddle couldn't paddle, of course. He was completely at the mercy of the wind and the waves. And it looked as if he would end his days as just a peculiar piece of driftwood on the lonely shore. He got away, but his troubles weren't over by any means. Everything that ran across him seemed to think he might be something to eat. But it wasn't Paddle they were after, really. The frog that jumped in with him was scared to death. For there was an enemy lurking below. Paddle could float, for he was made of wood. He could also burn. But all in all, it was a lovely summer, just gliding along in the moonlight, safe and sound. Safe? What was that great black thing looming? It was the first time Paddle had ever been this close to a ship. Even though no one had ever even noticed him, Paddle, like the great ships, was also on his way to the sea. He couldn't know that as the days got shorter and colder, and the snows came to the darkening hills, that one day the water that carried him would turn into ice. And that would surely be the end of him. Came a day when Paddle disappeared completely, gone without a trace. Yet all the time he was as safe as a seed under his blanket of snow, waiting for the warm wind of spring. Waiting for the sun to release him. And one glorious day, he was free again. Free to travel on into the land of people. Nobody was really sure Paddle even existed, until one day. Quite by accident, he was caught. It says, "Please put me back in the water." "We can't keep him," said his father. "Whoever made him wants him to travel to the sea. Though how he could ever get to the sea from here is beyond me." In all the time he'd been away, Paddle had only got as far as Detroit, still almost 1,500 miles from the ocean. The world of men seemed very beautiful. It was the 4th of July, a celebration. But for a little creature like Paddle, the world of men was also very dangerous. Dangerous and dirty. They were pouring all sorts of filth and slime and garbage into the lake. And worst of all, ahead of him lay Niagara Falls. was an exciting day for the people on the Maid of the Mist, the excursion boat below the falls. Some thought they caught glimpses of him. Others said nonsense, he could never survive that terrible plunge. And then, just when his worst troubles seemed to be over, he disappeared. He hadn't really disappeared, of course. He was gliding through the night in lonely, hidden places. Nothing to worry about. Unless that beaver decided to use him for building a dam. Actually, Paddle had reached the safest place he could possibly come to. It was a wildlife sanctuary where all creatures are protected. It's very odd to think that in this peaceful place, Paddle was in danger. The little boy didn't know how to read yet. For him, Paddle was just a wonderful toy he had found by chance. He'd take him home and keep him forever. And then he made his big mistake. He decided to play with him first. It was a good thing for Paddle that Rover just didn't feel like getting his feet wet that day. Paddle was free, and ahead of him, only one last big barrier. Like the big ships, Paddle too would have to make his way through the last of the great locks. nobody was sure Paddle had made it safely. Nobody heard of him for months. Then one fine summer morning, the fishermen set out. They were after codfish, and cod flourish only in the sea. In all his long life, the fisherman had never caught anything like this. Paddle had been in the water so long, all his paint was gone. But you could still read, "Put me back in the water." That was when Paddle finally came to the lighthouse by the sea. The lighthouse keeper has a rather lonely life, so he was absolutely delighted to find Paddle. Paddle would make a wonderful addition to his collection of model boats. But then he read the message, and he thought, he's not really mine to keep. He thought of the great currents in the mighty oceans. If I put you back, someone might find you someday in a cold fjord in Norway, or on a warm beach in Africa. Who knows how far you may go? Who knows how far you've come? But that secret is known only to you and the boy who dreamed a dream and made him one winter long ago.